Hey guys, well, I am Frank Goodlow, and I'm the Performance and Visual Arts Director for Center Stage at the J. And welcome to my second episode of Behind the Scenes and in the Spotlight. And I cannot tell you how happy, how honored, and humbled I am to be joined with the amazingly talented Melissa Shepard. Melissa, how are you?
I'm great. It's so good to see your face.
It's so good to see your face. I feel like I was seeing your face all the time, either at the theater or at the studio, and now
Oh,
I don't see you at all, and I'm so excited to see you.
I'm having withdrawal. It's so good. It's so good to see you.
Yes, I'm having like withdrawals as well. Like I have tics. I'm like, it's because I haven't seen Melissa. I haven't seen Melissa.
Well, we always have that. We fix it. We fix it.
We fix it. We definitely fix it. Well, first let me say how beautiful you look.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
I really missed getting dressed up and going somewhere. So I thought I'm just going to the dining room, but it's to have a cocktail with Frank. And so I'm on it. I'm going to get dressed up.
That's what I'm doing.
This is as close as I could get to some 70s Mamma Mia sort of shout out. And this is what I had at home.
And I love it. Like I had to step up my game because I knew I was like, Melissa's going to come with it. I've got to, do a little something. So I was like, I threw on a vest just to step up my game and look. I have a little inkling as amazing as you do.
Frank, you always step up your game. What are you saying? Cheers to you.
Cheers to you. Okay, so Melissa, I've known you for, God, I don't even know how long.
I think it's kind of close to about 25 years.
It's about 25?
I think so. I think we're right around there. We'd have to sit up and really figure it out, but we met through Aaron Berger when you did Blue Apple Players. So when I met you, that was long before the life we have together now.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
We've known each other for a really long time.
For a very long time.
The best years of my life, Francis.
There it is, Francis. Okay, so I have to tell you this story really quick. So when I met Melissa, and then once we got to know each other more and more, she said, I'm going to call you Francis, and that will be your name from here on out. And it was basically, and she told me, no one else could call me Francis but her. That name was reserved for Melissa Shepard. And if anyone comes and says, hey, Francis, I'm like, no. Thank you for trying to call me that, but that name is reserved for Melissa. Melissa said no one else can call me Francis. So you may hear her call me Francis several times. Just know it's reserved for Melissa Shepard. She's the only one that can call me Francis, which I love. I love it. But like I said, we've known each other for, like you said, about 25 years. So I know what you do. Like, where have you performed? What is your background?
Okay, so I really wanted more than anything in the whole wide world to be a lawyer.
Really?
So so I have an undergraduate degree in political science, but it's a big writing degree. So I kept a little hand in the theater department there just to keep them going crazy. I also started doing community theater at Clarksville Little Theater. I actually have a seat with my name on it. Jason got it for me. Yeah, Jason got it for me for a present when I graduated from my undergrad from college.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So I love it. It's right next to Michael Sand's seat as well. So that's kind of how I just kept saying through all of college is I just kept doing theater. I did theater with Alex Craig at Clarksville Little Theater and my best friend Mike Reynolds from St. X. We did theater there together. And it was wonderful. And so that's how I kind of really sunk in as a young adult into it. And then I ended up going to U of L, finishing my poli-sci degree as an undergrad, and I had a minor in theater. And right when I was getting ready to go, I was going to go to law school. And I had tracked hours with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, like 3 summers in a row, 400 hours a summer. Like I was ready to be a lawyer.
Wow.
And I got invited to audition for the MFA program at U of L. And it's a Master's of Fine Arts, it's a terminal degree. So it's kind of like a doctorate in acting because that doesn't really exist. So you get an MFA. And I got in and I got an assistantship. And so the assistantship paid for me to go. And I was like, well, having an acting degree can only make me a better lawyer. And if you know Pete Lay, you know that's true.
That is very true. I love it. Yes.
I'm sure, like, I would love to go sit and watch him in court. But that's kind of how I got on the track. And now, professionally, I am full-time at the university. I run the costume shop.
Running the costume shop, yes.
So yeah, I worked there in grad school, and I made good friends with Shauna Goldentool, who's the resident designer. And she wanted me to keep building jewelry for her after I got a gig in California right out of grad school. And so I've been on the payroll at U of L since 1997.
Really? I didn't know it was that
Yeah.
long. I knew you've been there for a while, but I did not know since 1997.
Next year will be the start of my 20th year. So my 20th year begins in August.
Wow.
I know, which I was like, I'm not going to be here longer than 5 years.
What? And you're there for 20 years?
No, I'm going to get like a pin and a watch and stuff. It's going to be like official.
It is official. I love that. Yeah. So as Melissa said, she's a performer, but she's also a costumer, which I'm sure all of you guys have gone to all the theaters, and I am 100% sure that you have gone to some show, some theater company, and you have seen a show that Melissa has costumes. So she's an amazing costumer, amazing performer. Absolutely amazing. I love her. I love her. I love her. I remember one show that we did together, which was Cabaret. We did it at Center Stage. And I would stand in the wing and be in awe, like just literally in awe of your performance every single night. It was just like, oh. So, which leads me to my question of, when you're performing, how do you prepare for a role? What do you do to get into that character?
Okay, so I'm kind of a book nerd. And I like to do mental massaging activities that help me get into character. I think the key to making any performance work, no matter how big or small in the show, is you have to become friends with your character. Because I don't trust anyone who's not my friend with my deepest secrets. But if you want to really play someone, you have to know their deepest secrets. And even though they may not be in the script, I think the closer you allow yourself to become to the character, the more those things are revealed to you. And even if it's just powered by your own imagination or some fun connection you made at rehearsal, you start to build this story. And so that story always fuels what you're doing. It makes your goals stronger when you're on stage, at least for me. And so I like to do a letter writing activity when I first start a very complicated character. And you picked one of my most top 5 complicated ones is Miss Sally Bowles. She's a contradiction in herself.
She is.
And so what you do is, and this was taught to me by Dr. Stephen Schultz, who was one of my mentors at U of L. So you write a letter to the character. You can ask them some questions that maybe you want to know, maybe some things you don't understand about the script, or you can just introduce yourself. It can be any format that you want. And then you put it down. I like to do this in a journal so I can go back and read what my imagination created. And if I get stuck, it helps me. But you write the letter and then you put the journal down for at least 24 hours. 48 for me is better. I like to put it away and not think about it and then sort of let it come back to me as I know that I have to answer. So 2 days later, I write back to myself as the character and answer as many questions as I can. And then I'll write as many letters as I want to. I think I wrote a good half a journal. Now, I'm not a great journaling person. That is not something I get really inspired by. But it does help to fuel my imagination. And I think for Sally, I wrote like half a journal full, and that's a lot for me.
That's a lot.
This helped me write my thesis, which is why that I knew that it would work. And when I sat down to write an 88-page thesis, which was a bound book, it was incredible how those letters helped to remind and reinform and reacquaint me with this person who I allowed to get close enough to become my friend.
Wow.
So that's the core of my process.
That is so awesome. Like, I never thought about putting it in a way of saying that, how you have to become friends with your character, best friends with your character, and writing letters to them. That is so true. Like, me as an actor and a performer as well, like, that is so, that's intense. I love that.
Thank you. What the trick it does is it keeps me from playing qualities and it keeps me off the cheese horse. Now, anybody who's been on stage with me knows it's real easy for me to get on there and rehearsal. I mean, okay, I'm not claiming that I'm good at that, but it helps me to find the truth and viability of who that character is or what that moment is. And I don't feel like I have to know every detail. It's not about what's your favorite color and what's your favorite animal and who was your first kiss. I mean, it could be if you need to know that stuff,
Right.
but it's more just about, what are you thinking about today? This really pissed me off when such and such said this to you in public. I can't believe he said that. Maybe that was something from the script. And then I'm furious about that, and I'll ask my character, and the character will, sometimes that doesn't bother the character, but it bothers me. And so I have to, it also reminds me that not every character wants to become me. It's my job to become that character. And something I always tell my students, because I also am on the part-time faculty at U of L and I teach acting. And so one of the things that I always tell my students is, you have to get out of the way so that you can let that person be there fully. Because if you're there fully, they can't be there fully. You have to find a way to make room and to share. And so this is how I don't really understand how real divas in the theater are made. Because anybody who's behaving like a diva, by definition, it becomes impossible to do that.
Yes.
You can't do the job at all. Like, it's,
absolutely.
You know, that I tell my students, you know, I like to leave my personal problems in the glove box because God knows they'll be waiting for me, but they don't necessarily need to go in the door.
Right.
And that's kind of something that I learned at school too from my movement teacher. He was very adamant, Jim Tompkins, very disciplined and adamant, and there was a code that you live by when you do a show. I mean, he was a former Olympian and a ice skater and a dancer and a ballet, and he studied with the mask making company in Italy, studied under Lecoq. He was commissioned by the Italian government to perform with them. You know, I mean, it was intimidating to be in the
yeah.
And you know me, I don't like to get in trouble, so I didn't break any rules. Okay, I'll do whatever.
Whatever you say, I'll do it.
Stand on your head, and I gave it a go. So. But yeah, that's, I think, the most important thing. And then I feel like I get to know the character, and then they kind of know me too. And if I am with my insecurities and my vulnerabilities, then they should be able to do the same. And so then you start to have this exchange with a real person. And it sounds really crazy when you say it all out loud, kind of, but you do. You feel like you're showing up at the theater to meet up with a friend, and you guys are going to do a project together tonight. And I have found that that's best. You know, you had to use this the most when we did Chicago, because there's nothing I'm more afraid of than having to do a huge dance, let alone alone. Oh my God. But
and you nailed it. Nailed it.
I mean, it took so much work and so much patience on the part of Sandy Simpson. Poor Sandy Simpson, who was the choreographer. But anyway, God love her, I miss her. But it's just, once you get there, then you know that person. And so when you get up there on stage, you don't doubt a moment of it by the time you get there, because you know who you're up there with.
Right.
And Velma knew how to do all that dancing. I learned it just like 7 weeks prior. But she was as comfortable as doing that as I am going in and threading the sewing machine. And so when I was able to get into that, I was able to find more. That's just kind of how I feel about it. You always have to be willing to give over to it, or it will not work.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And there are nights I've left the theater before and come home and said to my husband, how do you think it went? And he was like, I thought it was great. I've seen you do it better.
Jason, your hardest critic there.
Oh my God, yeah. But it's good. I mean, that's good. I need that. You know,
yeah, which is great.
Because he knows when I really let it go and I really got the whole truth. And then when maybe I was tired, or I didn't do the laundry, or I stayed up too late the night before, or whatever, you know, it happens to the best of us, Frank.
It does. It happens to the best of us. It happens to me all the time. Happens to me all the time. Well, like, speaking of like doing roles and stuff, when did you know this is what you wanted to do? Like, Was there an age that the bug hit you, or a certain role you're like, oh my God, this is it?
I think I wanted to do this professionally after I really started doing musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but in my head, the musical was so, there were so many other layers to it. To take full control like that in front of all those people while singing and dancing and remembering and talking and make some crazy prop work all at the same time, it's like a superhero power. It's awesome. And I thought, oh, and I started to experience a little bit of that when I started doing musicals at St. X.
Yeah.
I went to Mercy, which is an all-girls Catholic high school here in town, and our brother school was St. X High School. And so we would go and audition, and my best friend Kathleen, who's drugged me into every crazy adventure I ever had under the age of 25, she was like, you're going over there with me and we're going to audition. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not. She's like, yes, you are. So we went and auditioned for for MASH. We were in a non-musical version. They did MASH.
Really?
And yeah, and we got in, and I was just cast as a female soldier, and Kathleen got cast as Hot Lips Houlihan. Anybody know Kathleen would be like, of course she did. She's awesome. So anyway, that was it. And that was to be in the camaraderie, to understand the camaraderie that came out of theater was so exciting. And I had played organized sports, and so I understood that this felt different. This I connected with on a deeper level. And so I thought, ooh, I'm really interested in this. Let's do some more. Let's see where this goes a little bit.
And it's like you said, there is such a superpower, like you said, superpower that comes with doing musical theater, because and I started out doing musical theater and having to learn, like you said, these lines, the staging, the blocking, the choreography, the songs, the props, how you're handling the props, doing these quick changes, all these things. It's so much. And like you said, and you have to be disciplined, very, very disciplined to do it. I guess I'm just the opposite, because for me, when I did my first just straight play, that was when I was terrified. I was like, this is a lot. There's no singing. There's no, how do I do this? I've got to figure this out. I don't know. And I was like terrified.
That's so funny. We had the opposite there.
Yes, we have quite the opposite. The first.
What was that play, Frank?
Do what?
Do you remember what that play was? The first non-musical that you did?
Non-musical show I did was Jeffery with Pandora Productions.
Yes.
It was the first one.
That was excellent.
Oh, well, thank you. And then like the next big one that I did was Driving Miss Daisy, because I have not done a lot of straight plays.
You were so good in that. I cried in the lobby. I acted like an idiot. I was bawling and hugging people. You were so awesome. It was fantastic.
Thank you. Like with that show, like I had to do a lot of researching, a lot of who is this man, you know,
yes.
and Sharon Kinnison, who directed that, like she had us journal. She also had us write down who is his character, like all the back history and everything. And it was just.
Sharon was in my class.
She was
in my MFA class, so we got the same trick.
Got the same thing, and that's what
totally get it. Yeah,
she had us do it. It was so great, and I think it's one of my favorite roles I've ever done. Definitely.
It's exciting to get into it. You're like, oh wow, and you really remember it, and then if you remember it, you actually learn something from it, and so you can draw on the next one.
Yes.
And it's kind of exciting to watch it build. I love that she made you do all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
We would sit down and talk before we even got up to start rehearsal. Like she would sit and we would talk about each character and each thing, and then we would get up and rehearse. You know, and I loved it.
That's awesome.
It was totally awesome. So, speaking of characters, is there a character that you have not yet been cast in that you are dying to do, like a bucket list role or character?
I I have bucket list roles to come. I've got about 15 years, 20 years. I need to be older, but I want to play Mame, and I want to play Dolly, and I want to play Mama Rose. And all I can say is those ladies are waiting for me to be 60. I'm excited. I want to do some of those older, mature roles. I would really like to do cabaret one day and play the older role in that pair. You know, I would love to come back to the story, which I don't do very often, and be a different age. But there are roles that I'm saving that are actually my favorites that we haven't gotten to yet. But I'm not old. I got to be older.
Got to be older to do
And I'm excited. Like, that's something I've made in my older age that I might be looking forward to. Like, this might happen. This could be exciting. So I hope I'm still doing theater when I'm 60, Frank.
I would be more than willing to bet a lot of money that you will be.
I think I would miss it too much.
I think you will.
Gotta do a little, just every once in a while.
And how awesome would it be, because you played what's her name? Gypsy.
Louise.
Louise, yes. I was about to say Louisa, but Louise, like, you played that at Center Stage, and for you to be able to go back when you're older to play Mama Rose, wow, that would be.
Yeah, it would be fun.
I hope I'm still around.
I remembered standing there watching Rita thinking, damn, that's the song in the show. I'm so jealous. Like, I want to sing that song. And then I would think about, okay, but that's going to be years from now. So you got something to look forward to, maybe, if you're lucky enough to get there.
I think you will. I definitely think you will.
I got goals, Frank. I got goals.
Right. Okay, so we've talked a lot about performing and how you prepare for those roles. I want to talk a little bit about costuming, because you've costumed. How many shows have you? Do you even know how many costumes? How many shows?
I don't. I haven't been designing as long as I've been doing costumes. I started designing. I guess that's not really true. I just did it on a very small scale. I always designed one small suitcase show for the repertory company, and then they would do 2 small suitcase shows, and that became something that had a budget and needed someone to do maintenance on throughout the year. And it's a tour that goes on into schools all year long. And this would have been its 43rd consecutive year. So it's the oldest traveling troupe in Louisville.
Wow.
And U of L has always offered it as community service project. And so when I got hired, my job didn't exist. I was the first person to work it. And so I was like, there is a need for someone to support the clothes for the tour. You know, they're just going out with a credit card and dressing themselves, which is what I had to do when I was in the company. So I knew they needed help, and I kind of made it my job. But I've been designing for them for 19 years. And that was kind of when I started, but I had never done a huge, big musical. The first time I did that was at Center Stage, like where I was the designer and got to make the decisions. Now I think, oh, I was so terrified of that. And I just dressed 46 kids in Crazy for You by myself at Trinity 2 months ago. Oh, you know, the girls, there were 30 girls. They had 5 looks each. It was nuts. I mean, and then that was like a scaled down version. So I think about how I've learned to manage these huge musicals, because that's where all the fun is, and all the, you know, it's so fun and creative. And so I really enjoy it. And then I get to do both, because we don't really do a lot of that at U of L. We do a lot of period dramas. We make replicas of real clothes. Like, people don't understand my costume stock. It doesn't look like everyone else's.
Right. Yours is like period.
Right, we don't have any fantasy stuff. Our fantasy section is like the hanging bar is like as long as my dining room table in all of stock. You know, I'm like, this is like most of Center Stage's stock. You know, it's just not the same. But I enjoy it in a whole different way. So by me doing this freelance work, I kind of get the best of both worlds of design, which is really kind of an honor and a privilege, and not a lot of people get that. So
right. So, like, with your costuming, and as we talked about a process of a role, like, take me through a process of how you would costume a big musical. Like, what, you know, how? Because I've dabbled my hand here and there of designing shows, costume wise, but to do what you do, my vision, I know, was not even close to what, if I was like, God, if Melissa was here, what would she do? Which was my thing. I was like, if Melissa was here, how would she do this? What would she put them in? Seriously, I did. It's like, what's your process? How do you?
Okay, I will tell you the most direct answer that I always open with when I address the cast at stage one. I say, hello, I'm Melissa Shepard. I'm the costume designer. And one thing you should know about me is I am an actor who designs. I'm an actor above anything else. I'm an actor who teaches, an actor who sews, an actor who is a mom. Like, it's acting kind of informs everything that I do. I can't help it. And so my process kind of starts in a very similar way, with one exception, is that this might be my design, but it's not my vision. Gotcha. My design has to build off of your vision, Frank, because you're the director. So I like to start any costume design, if possible, even before I read the script fully, with a chat with the director. I want to know, even if I'm familiar with the script or I've read it once, I don't read it like 5 times before my first chat with the director, because the more I read it, the more my imagination fills in the gaps. So I like to go in kind of fuzzy so that the director's vision can be the one that I accept. And then after I have that meeting, I go home and I read the script again with the director's vision as the overview. This helps me narrow down or get rid of any ridiculous or bad choices that I might make for this vision. Because costuming is so broad. So how do I get it so that one person, can dress all these people, because no one is supposed to be naked in this play? You know, I'm like,
supposed to be naked.
Oh crap. I'm like, Kate will ask me at Trinity, how's it going? And I'm like, okay, only half are naked, so we're doing good. We're getting there, right? It's about how many people have clothes. So I'm like, I missed my chance with hair, Frank. That would have made my life easier. It's finally, oh, these people are supposed to be naked. Okay.
Okay, we're good. Right. One costume, supposed to be naked. Bam.
Perfect. Bam. So that's kind of where I start. And then I like to approach design completely sustainable. So I am a sustainable designer, and I feel very proud saying that, and I have a system for doing that. And as a result, I usually end up giving quite a portion, sometimes 20 or 35% of my overall budget back to the theater.
Which is
right, which I like. And also there's extra money left in the budget in case there's a major emergency. Oh, someone didn't realize that we didn't have any laundry soap at all. Oh crap. Well, that all has to come out of that budget. So I like to leave room for, oh my God, someone broke in and stole the ball gown and we have to go buy something at Dillard's today. There needs to be money for an emergency.
I love that.
I think managing the costume shop at U of L has given me those skills. Like, I didn't just magically think like that. That all comes from my job. Because it's my job to save money, and we got a coupon and a gift certificate and all this other stuff. That's me. I keep up with all that.
I love it. I love it.
Stick with me. I'll get you some free pizza. So I just like there to be money left over in case we have a problem. And so those are my. And then my other firm belief is that it does not matter what the time period is or what the show is. That damn show is at the Goodwill. You just have to go there with the eyes to see it. I mean, I have found a period coat, which I put together from 2 other modern jackets for Oliver when I could not find one more frock coat.
Wow.
So it's at the Goodwill. If you know how to sew and you can kind of see, hey, the top of this jacket looks like that and the bottom of this jacket, I could just put those 2 things together and it costs less than $12. I mean, that's kind of awesome.
That's really awesome. Ain't no problem.
I enjoy doing that because to me, it's like a cool puzzle. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to go to the Goodwill and just see what they got for me. It's like a magic closet. And then it's even more magical because I got 2 baskets full. I'm like Baba Black Sheep. I have 3 baskets full. And it's like $315.
See, that's awesome.
Right. And like all these kids now have a full look. And so I just think you have to you have to see it. You have to practice kind of looking for it. You're never going to walk right in the door and then be like, that's it. Sometimes, but rarely. You're kind of changing it. Oh, if I put a sweater over this, can she never take a sweater off? Do I want to leave her with that option? Like, I start to think about it then at that point, like I'm playing the role. So that's where the actor part
comes in.
Right. So all you have to do, Frank, is if you don't know what to do, you need to say, okay, I'm playing Mama Rose. Can I do everything? First of all, do I want to wear this? Does this color look good on that? And then, can I move in this? Oh yeah, she has to carry in those 3 suitcases. See, I look at a script and I understand what an actor needs to do in the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the advantage of being an actor who designs, because I understand. I made a huge mistake in Crazy for You. I altered the center back line of the guys who were playing Bobby. I altered their vest too tight.
Uh-huh.
And they both split out the center back, and I had to go in really early in the morning after opening night and fix them. I'm an idiot. I know better than that, but I was in a hurry, and those dudes, they were looking slim, and they were talking about how much they'd been to the gym, and I wanted them to feel like they was really and they looked totally like statues in these jackets. But then when they picked up a girl and crossed their arms like this, it was all popping open on them.
Wow.
So I had, you forget, sometimes you get all wrapped up in how great a guy looks in a suit, and then there you go. I mean, it happens to the best of us, Frank.
Right. So say, like, okay, I know we've talked about you being a performer, doing costume, you working at U of L, and directing. But what I'm sure many people do know, but this woman is also a wife and a mother. And I know what Lily's schedule is at the studio. My question to you is, how do you juggle? How do you do all this? Be in a show, or costume a show, design a show, teach at U of L. I mean, the list goes on and on.
I have a very awesome village who stands behind me at every moment of my life.
It takes a village, does it not?
It really does. It does. And I think that my mother is still feeling the same way about me. Like, look at all these people who are still helping her raise me and take care of me as a 46-year-old woman. Like, Lucetta is still looking after me. But it really does. And my husband Jason and I have very opposite passions. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have a theater schedule to run off to at the same time. When it's tech week, it's tech week. In his world, in our shop, our cigar shop, if it's Derby week, I'm not signing up for anything in the theater. I know better during that. So we know each other's times. We know how to make sacrifices, how to make room, and are more than willing to do that. Jason's a great partner. He's awesome.
That's awesome.
So I really have an amazing help. Jason's mom and my parents, they are so involved in Lily's life. The dance studio, sometimes the schedule at the dance studio really helps, because it'll be like, oh, Lily has 3 hours of dance class tonight, and I have rehearsals, so I'll get her there, and then Jason will pick her up. So the dance studio is our transitional point, and it's kind of magical sometimes. I love the dance studio.
I love it. I love it. This is great. I mean, like I said, there's so many times I sat back in awe. I was like, how in the world is she doing all this? How is she doing all this? Which is great.
I have fun. I do have fun. It's easier when it's fun. Mm-hmm. And I will say, the older I've gotten, the less I want to keep up with so much at once. I don't do as many shows anymore.
Right.
I don't want to miss anything. I was having a really hard time because one of Lily's competitions laid into opening weekend of Mamma Mia.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, Sandra, what are we going to do if our girls are on stage at the same time as us? How are we going to make it happen? Jill was also freaking out because she's their teacher, so she needed to be. And we were like, oh my God. So it was really stressful, and I was having weird feels about that. Like, that would be the first time that I've ever had a conflict that I really couldn't work out. Like, between my life and Lily's life. There've only been a few.
But how blessed are you to have, like you said, the village that you have helping you?
I'm blessed. And my schedule at U of L is very accommodating.
That's good.
Jana and I cover for each other. She has a little girl too, who's like 2 years older than Lily, and she performs and she's a gymnast or a swimmer, plays tennis, you know, she's always doing something. And so Shauna and I kind of cover for each other. And
I
it's
love
wonderful to have she's a real partner for me, and that's how we work together.
I love that.
I love her.
Well, one of my last questions, because we got to get ready to wrap this up here, but
Yes,
because I could talk to you forever.
I know.
As I told Michael, I think I'm gonna have to do like a part 2, getting to know Melissa part 2. What advice do you have for upcoming performers, costumers, like those that are up and coming that want to say, oh my God, I want to be able to do what she's doing?
Okay, performers, the best advice I can give you is no matter what you do, your ass needs to show up on time. That is rule number 1. Whatever you're doing, whether it's the doctor's office or it's rehearsal or whatever, get there on time. This is the start. Once you start living your life like that, other things fall into place that you didn't count on or you didn't really realize. Also, the most fun parts of the theater, the learning, it all happens the first 10 minutes before rehearsal starts. That's where the camaraderie is built. That's where you gain more momentum with your acting partner in the scene, because you got there 10 minutes early and you had a fun conversation with Pete before you went into Mary Poppins rehearsal. So it's like, I found all these layers in those 2 characters when I did it with Pete, because we made time, even though it was just a couple minutes before rehearsal. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Check in. And you know that, Frank, you and I find all these layers in plays where sometimes we don't even have lines together, but we have this whole life that's going on inside the show, which gives the show this other layer to get invested in.
Speaking of, which is one of the things that helped me with Angels in America, which is another play that I forgot I did, was Angels in America.
God, that was 10 tons of fun. I was pregnant.
Yes, you were. You were pregnant with Lily. You were
so fun.
Oh my God, which is great.
Now you're thinking about those rehearsals and all those laughs. I don't think I ever laughed so hard as in such a serious show. I think it was just needed.
I think it was just needed. It was needed for us to just release.
I don't know how we survived a show where both comedians, Jeremy Moon and Chris Bryant, were in the cast with us. How did we get anything done? They're such a riot.
They are right. I don't know how we got anything done.
It's so much fun.
No idea how we got things done, but it was so much fun.
It was good stuff.
So much fun. I loved it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you with a joke.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just saying, like, it was so much fun. So, okay, what about costuming? If someone wants to become a costumer, what's your advice?
Honestly, and this is not just me trying to promote what I do. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a costume designer in this world, if you want to work professionally in costumes, then you need to come to U of L and you need to work with Jana Goldentool. And that's just the bottom line. I could do a whole nother hour and just tell you all the things that my awesome, famous students are doing and the opportunities that you can get if you work like Jana and if you work with Jana.
Which is amazing.
It's just, she's like a magician in the costume world.
Like, I know that you have some, and I know we can't go a long time about this, but just really quick, can you mention like some of your students that have gone on to do bigger and better things that are costumers, and like what they're doing?
Sure. Well, the first one I'll talk about is Frankie Lewis, who is on Project Runway for season 17, and she has her own business. She works in LA, she dresses stars, and she sews amazing stuff. She dressed Katy Perry for the Met Ball last year.
Which is amazing.
Right, she drafted the pattern, and she said the dress fit on the first fitting. She didn't have to do a second fitting. I mean, Frances is an amazing draper.
It's awesome.
And so that's our center stage alum as well.
Yeah, cheers.
Which, yay, we love her. Candace Lawrence, she was my second wardrobe master in my 4th year at U of L. I think she probably works in the highest tier of the business. She wardrobe manages and production manages for the biggest stars on the planet. Like in the past decade, she has done Lady Gaga, Pink, Cher. She did Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga. Remember when they did that cute little stuff at Christmas for like 5 months? Candace managed that entire tour.
Wow.
She stays connected with Shauna and I. She's very, very appreciative of what she got in the costume shop, and she pays back tenfold.
I love that.
Right now, I'm training a student. Her name is Lauren Moody. She's wonderful. I'm training her in a more intense way so that she can be hired by Candace out onto the road right out of college. And Candace called me and she was like, I'm sick of these people who don't speak Jana. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
I'm like, I can relate to your problems, right?
I got someone for you that can.
Right. And she was like, you need to train me someone. And she was all fired up and she probably had a bourbon in the other hand and a phone in the other. And I was like, look, if you're serious, I do have someone who I really think is who you're looking for. And she was like, I'm serious. If you train that person, I will hire that person. And I'm like, okay, it's a done deal. I'll get to work on that. So Lauren's last year of college is next year. And I'm excited. I think that she's really picking it up. I think she's going to do great. I have full faith in her. It's awesome.
I love that.
James Coomer, who is another Center Stage alum, he did a lot of work for us on Sweeney Todd. In costumes, he hand painted most of the distressed London clothes, including the apron with the blood and the flower. It's one of my favorite pieces. He is working for Bill Hargate Studios, and Bill Hargate, they dress everyone. They're like so incognito. They do everything and no one hardly knows it. But James dressed Queen Latifah. He built her Ursula costume on ABC Live when they did it just this past fall.
Wow.
And he said that he ended up making kind of a nice relationship with her, and she wanted him to dress her for the live performance. So he built her a corset that went in the outfit and built the whole outfit and had all those fittings with her. And so after that work, that was one of his first projects there. So he also has built and worked on the new uniform for Patrick Stewart in the new Star Trek Picard.
Uh-huh.
And I think Penny Dreadful is coming back on Showtime, and I think he's doing a lot of the villains. So I've seen he put something on Facebook last week that's pretty awesome. You should look it up if you haven't yet. Look him up because he puts up the work that he's allowed to talk about. You know, they sign confidentiality stuff, but then they can show their work after it's premiered on TV or at some convention or whatever that the contract date is. So, but that's a couple. Jessie Eichberger is out there. She's also an alum of Center Stage. She was our stage manager for years. Did the revival of Cabaret and like 17 shows around there. She is in the union. She works for ABC Studios. She works on Shameless, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. She does production work for like costume and wardrobe production work for all of them. So they all work in a different way. Jessie worked with Mary Zolfries, who's been a designer in Hollywood for like 55 years or more. She's one of the long-term legends. She did Aliens with Sigourney Weaver. She did all the way up to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But Jessie was chosen to work on the team that did La La Land. So she was sitting in the balcony at the Academy Awards because she built some of that stuff that won that award. Yeah, so I'm proud of my students.
I mean, like, what a great honor and a great nod to you and Jana and what you've taught them and how you teach them. And that's amazing.
I could not be more happy for them. They had the bravery to take what they learned and just go give it a try. And I didn't realize how much work there is. If you want to do this, there's so much work, but you have to move to the city where the work is in costuming and in scenic design and scene painting and these kind of technical theater jobs. But it's a ruse that there's no work in this industry. There's so much work in this industry that people are working overlapping jobs. Yes. There's plenty of room, but you have to go there and you have to be brave and give it a shot.
Yeah, you're right.
But I have a lot of faith in my students, and I also have faith that the alumni will continue to build like a network for each other, and it's really important. I mean, James will be like, yeah, Lauren, come sleep on my couch while you find a place in LA, and now all of a sudden a whole nother generation of U of L costume shop people are all together in LA. So I'm telling you what, Frank, if they want to take me fabric shopping and on studio tours, you got to go with me. I got us in, man. We can see.
I'm there. I would do it.
I want to go so bad to LA because now I have like, James was telling me how he went into the studio and he saw all the knives from Dexter. And I was like, shut up.
I want to be there.
I love that show. Right?
Yes. That is so awesome. Yeah, I'm there. Make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Yes.
We'll make that happen. All right, so Melissa, very quickly, we're going to do a really quick, what I like to end our show with. It's getting to know Melissa. Oh, yep, drink it down, girl, because you're going to need it.
Have a drink.
Uh,
Okay, here we go.
Getting to know Melissa in a minute or less.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a series of questions as quickly as I can. You just shout out the answer. I'm going to set my timer here
Okay.
for a minute. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
God, Frank, that's the hardest one. I don't know. Why have I never thought about that? I want my voice to do anything, no matter what I had to eat or drink the day before.
Favorite genre of movies?
Drama.
What's your favorite food?
Bourbon. Chocolate.
If someone made a, love that. If someone made a movie of your life, what genre would that be and who would play you?
I think it would be a drama, although ideally I would like it to be a comedy. And I think maybe Tina Fey.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Place that you would most love to travel but have never been?
Hawaii.
Oh, yes. Favorite season?
Fall.
Favorite ice cream?
Mocha chip.
Favorite junk food?
Pizza.
Pizza, yes. Well, pretty good. You got through quite a few questions there. It's harder than what you think. You're like, oh, I can.
That first one was hard. It was like, what's your favorite color? I was like, shit, superhero power? I don't know. And then I stupidly almost said I would like to fly. I would not like to know how to fly. That's not something. I was like, don't say that.
No, give me like invisibility or ability to read people's minds, or like you said, to be able to sing without having, no matter what I had.
Unconditional singing. That's what I would like.
Yes, unconditional singing.
It's no pressure. Like, you can't have too much bourbon and like actually put your friend through the wall. Like, I can't handle these kind of like real superhero powers. That invisibility would get me in so much trouble. I don't need that. I don't need that.
Maybe that's a bad one. Maybe that's a bad one. Well, Melissa, I cannot begin to tell you how much fun I've had sitting here talking to you and just asking these questions. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Hi, absolutely. How are you? That was Melissa's daughter, Lily, there, that just passed by, that we talked about earlier. But it has been so awesome sitting here talking with you and interviewing you and giving people that have seen you on the stage for so many years at Center Stage and at Clarksville Little Theater, and seeing the shows that you have designed as well, and giving them a chance to get to know you and get to know the Melissa that I heart so much and have known for so long.
Thank you, Frank.
Again, like I said, I think we can probably do a part 2. I think I'm gonna have to keep this going and do a part 2, because I can do a part 2 with Michael, me, you, and Michael.
Oh my God, that would be so fun. Because Michael and I, we've only been on stage together once. Yeah. And it wasn't at Center Stage. I've dressed Michael a couple times, but we've only been in one show together.
I love that. So maybe we can do that.
I love it.
You and Michael. That would be awesome. That would be so much fun. It's a date. Definitely a date. Well, again, everyone, thank you for joining myself and Melissa Shepard. And thank you, Melissa, again, for being my guest.
Anytime.
Hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Behind the Scenes and In the Spotlight, getting to know Melissa Shepard. And as I end the last show with Michael, I would like to continue to say, always find your light and stay in it. All right. See everybody soon. Bye.